Hey, welcome to episode number 2 of the Ain't No Hobby Podcast. I'm Jeremy, and over there is...
My name's Zach.
That's right. And we're just going to sit here and talk about whatever it is we want to talk about.
Hey, can you lower my cans just a little bit? A little bit.
I can lower the cans.
Cans is...
Is that better?
Check. Cans is studio talk for headphones.
That's right, headphones. And we're videoing this, so if everything works out, you may actually be able to watch it. And if you do get to watch it, you'll see us each having laptops here. My laptop is actually controlling the recording setup that's recording all of this awesomeness. And Zach over there is kind of like we're going to call him the lookup man.
That's right. I can look it up, whatever you need.
That's right. So while we're discussing whatever it is we're discussing, if he needs to investigate a little something, he's got the World Wide Web at his fingertips, which is extremely important. I don't know when this is actually going to come out because we just started and we want to record a few things and get some things in the can, which is a different can.
That's a different kind of can.
But still recording terminology.
That's right.
Get a few things in the can before we post this on the iTunes. So today is September the 8th, and we just learned just within minutes ago of a guy named Troy Gentry got killed in a helicopter crash that Zach and I don't personally know, but we've met a time or two. He's part of the Montgomery Gentry duo country act, and we played some shows with him years ago.
Yeah, where did we do that at? Was it in New York?
I think we played one or two in North Carolina and maybe one in California. We did 2 or 3 of them with our time with James Wesley. But I think a couple of them were in North Carolina and maybe one was in California.
Yeah, California.
I'm not sure.
That sounds right.
I grew up listening to them. I mean, they weren't out when I was extremely young, but I remember being in high school and their music was out, and I had listened to it, throughout the years, and they're one of the bigger, more iconic acts, I guess, in country. And it's just odd when you hear that. Also died today is Don Williams. I don't know if you know that.
Don Williams, I know that name. What did Don Williams do?
Well, he did Tulsa Time.
What?
Yeah.
Tulsa Time.
Yeah. And so he died today too. I actually got a text from Frank about that earlier. He told me about both of them. And that's really weird, 2 country I guess icons for that matter. I know Don Williams is. He's definitely a legend.
Yeah. And Montgomery Gentry is a big act. I mean, huge.
They're a big act, and it's when that happens, it's really the name Montgomery Gentry. So half the name and half the group is that guy that died. So it's very interesting to see where they go from here.
Well, the crazy thing is they were out on the road. You said, right? They're on the road.
Yeah, what little we know, and of course you're Mr. Lookup, so you can look it up. But they were in New Jersey, from what I read briefly a minute ago, and they had a show tonight. And I don't know if they were sightseeing. It wasn't even confirmed 100% if the other guy, Eddie Montgomery, was or was not with him. So obviously the show is canceled. But there's very few details because apparently it's 4:00 in the afternoon in Nashville and it happened within an hour or 2 ago at the most, I think.
So the crazy thing is, I mean, obviously that he was in a helicopter crash and died. That's super sad and crazy. But for an artist of that size, there is a whole crew of people that are going to be
they're going to be out of a job.
Exactly.
I mean, that's very true. A lot of people don't think about that. Now, we don't know the business workings of that group, but some groups, once you get to a certain level, some bands will some artists, I should say, will put their bands on retainer. And I don't know a lot about Montgomery Gentry's band as far as whether or not they've had the same guys for a long time or not, but odds are they haven't. And they may have a few guys been in there a long time, but most of the time, people that don't know, most artists have a road band and then they use different guys in the studio. So when you put a record in your CD player or iPod or whatever, you generally don't hear the same guys on the recorded version as what you go hear live. And so the guys that you hear live, they make their living on the road. And if the act that they play for, something happens, whether they, in this case, pass away of a a tragic accident, or they decide to take a year off. If they're not on salary, then that's a wrap. And even if they are on salary and something like this happens, it probably shuts the whole organization down.
Oh, yeah.
So you got not just the 5 or 6 or how many guys that stand on stage are potentially going to lose their money, or, be in a weird situation. You got the guys that in the crew.
Yeah, and they could have a big crew.
Yeah. So it's, obviously, yeah, it's a sad deal, but a lot of people don't think. You just think about the guy who died in his family, but there was, there's at least 10 to 15 more families that are affected by this.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't want to make everything about money and a financial thing, but this is a business, and that's the way it works. And if your product, if half of your product disappears and can't be sold anymore and marketed, then there's going to be some drastic changes.
Well, when I was probably a freshman at Belmont University in music business program, I think I was a freshman or sophomore, I went to tour production class on accident one day. I was supposed to go to record production. I went to tour production. And our teacher there, our professor, was Keith Urban's tour manager. And he was off the road because Keith Urban went to rehab that summer. And so they had nothing to do. No one had any jobs. And so they're all finding odd jobs. And the one he found was a professor of tour production at Belmont. So an interesting thing about first day, I was only there one day because I was in the wrong class. But he puts up this picture on overhead, and it's of all the guys. It's probably 40 guys, 50 guys of that tour. It's a big tour, big group picture of them all. And he said, I just want you to know something about being on the road and being in tour production. He said, every guy in this photo has been married and divorced at least once.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I can understand that. I mean, it's a grueling schedule. The road, the tech guys, the guys on the side that basically that work the show but do not play an instrument, they get the worst job. If you're in a big act, such as like as far as country goes, like a Brad Paisley or I don't know, just into like a Luke Bryan or something like that, like a big act, and potentially even Montgomery Gentry for that matter. The musicians fly home a lot. Some of them fly home every night.
Oh yeah.
And so when the last song is over and the lights of the venue come on, the guys in the band, they walk off stage, get on a bus. The bus takes them to the airport. They fly home. They're usually home before midnight most of the time. The guys in the crew, they have to pack everything up, get on the bus, ride to the next venue, set it all up, do the whole thing, tear it down, go to the next venue. And so when they go home, it takes them they're a whole day behind, and sometimes they have to leave a day ahead of schedule, a day ahead of the actual show.
Yeah.
So they travel more, and it's hard to have a family then. And then let alone the old evils.
The evils of the road.
The pitfalls and the banana. There's a lot of banana peels to slip on when you're out on the road. So yeah, I can totally understand that. It's one thing I do find interesting about touring in today's world. And not that I tour at the absolute highest levels, but I've been a part of a lot of really big shows, and so I've pretty much seen it all from what it looks like at the very top to the absolute bottom.
You're definitely there.
And what I find interesting is it looks like in the old days, it was pure rock and roll, drugs and alcohol and women and all that.
Yeah, I don't know how they did it.
I don't know how they did it. Nowadays, it's not like that at all. Like tour riders, the majority of the time, it's health food. Mm-hmm. You might have a few drinks during the show or something or other, but nobody, for the most part, I'm not going to say it don't always happen, but for the most part, you don't have all the artists and band getting hammered and getting on drugs and all that. Yeah. Most of the time it's,
people don't realize that.
No, it's not. It's almost, when the show's over, they get on the bus and they eat their lettuce salads, and go to sleep or eat their lettuce salads during the day, and then they go run and work out.
Yeah, I just feel like there was never enough time to get involved in drinking too much and all that, like on the road.
Yeah.
I mean, there's times where you can drink a little bit, but I mean, a lot of times you're just moving. So, gotta go to the venue, gotta go to the hotel, gotta go to the next show. of the next city.
And whenever you have time, you want to take a nap. Because I know that when
it's
we toured
exhausting.
together, we did a lot of fly dates. And I used to think, I can't wait to do fly dates. That's big time. Go to the airport and get on a plane and fly and fly and fly. And after I did that about 2 or 3 times, I realized this is the worst way to tour. Almost as bad as like riding everywhere in a van, because you have to get up at 4:30 in the morning, get to the airport, go through security, which is horrible. I'd rather just eat a spoonful of fire ants and do that every day. Go through security, then go wait at your gate 45 minutes to an hour, get on the plane, fly to the venue. And if you're going east,
It's a lot of waiting.
and you lose an hour going to the East Coast, you got to get up even that much earlier.
Yeah.
Because you got to allow for delays in the flights. Then when you get to the venue, you do your sound check. You might have time to go to the hotel, take a shower, get back to the venue, do the show. Well, by that time, it's really late at night, after midnight, by the time you get back to the hotel.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, guess what? You got to wake up again at 4 in the morning
That's right.
and fly from New York to Pittsburgh
Terrible.
or wherever. And if you're doing a weekend of fly dates where you fly 2 or 3 different day shows all within a weekend, you get no sleep.
No.
No
Zero.
sleep.
Zero.
And so-
And if you start out, some of those dates where we'd go to the airport at 4 o'clock, I couldn't sleep the night before because I knew I had to get up at 3:30
Yeah.
or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So I'd show up with no sleep,
Mhm.
and then I'd be wrecked for the whole week.
Yeah. By the time you finally get back to Nashville on Sunday, afternoon, depending on how the flights go, you're toast. You're
Yeah.
exhausted.
Yeah.
And so anyhow, if you're not touring with one of the superstar acts, you're not going to get on the jet plane and come home. It's,
Not
you know,
usually. Not
as
usually.
simple as that. But anyhow, so the